Excellent.
We have to.
What's the matter?
We have to reference Bones today, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Episode number
Didn't we
2
do
at
them
the
yesterday?
table. Yeah, but episode 2 at the table.
Right,
It's impressive.
right. How's our clock timer? It is, it's 5 after 3. Jesus.
Hey, so
Oh, well. Oh, well. And you're on, aren't you?
I believe so.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay. Very nice.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bully. Bully.
Okay.
Countdown.
Yes.
5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the Jersey Alchemist. And I am your host, Dr. John Gerard Gallucci, with a new accent.
It's like, where did that come from? And I'm Philip D'Angelo. What's up, pal? You seem happy today. You seem energized. Yes.
I am happy. I really am.
Things are going well.
Well, I can't quite say that. I haven't seen the tax man yet.
Oh, well,
And that's kind of a gut twister.
absolutely.
But I was halfway here in my car, and I saw a big truck just boom. He just went right past me. Kind of pressing the limits of the light change on Route 22. And I thought, it could all be over. All I had to do was regard the green light and not regard him coming down on the left. Kind of like the bicyclist the other day on the sidewalk.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have to worry about it. So once that truck passed me and I realized that I could have been killed, I was happy.
Wow.
Yeah. Everything is in proper perspective now.
Absolutely. Beautiful. It's
Yes.
funny how sometimes we need those little reminders.
Archangel Michael.
Hovering overwhere. Hovering and always protecting.
Excellent. Very nice.
Sometimes we need that perspective, John, that little reminder.
Oh boy, no kidding. And Z was here, and we're.
Would you call Z our producer of the podcast?
I call her an associate producer.
Associate producer? Yeah, right. Don't give her the head title yet. Okay, associate producer. Okay.
So far, gang, we are on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Rumble, and Schmick-Schmock.
Schmick-Schmock.
Right.
So the Chinese have all our information because TikTok is a Chinese-based social platform. Did you know that?
I did,
Okay.
but I was thinking, well, how do we know the others aren't also?
We don't know.
We don't.
We don't know.
We don't.
How's that Rumble? Is that what you said?
Oh, Rumble has its purpose. You know what? Some of the people I follow and I really enjoy watching, they're up on YouTube one day and they're down the next. YouTube giveth and YouTube taketh away.
Well, we mentioned it before about Elon Musk and Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
The largest shareholder now, so maybe things will start to turn around a little bit.
But the way my conspiracy theorist mind seems to plague me is I hope he's not controlled opposition.
Could be.
He could be.
Do you realize, I can't believe, maybe today I just noticed it, I don't know, I was a little more alert than usual, which isn't saying much, but how many Teslas are on the road? Everywhere I went today, there was a Tesla in front of me, a Tesla parked at the coffee shop, everywhere.
I had a comedic comeback for that, but you know something? If I said it, I'd be canceled.
Oh,
So I won't.
all right.
But I did see one of the people that I in and out follow on YouTube is a guy named Lex Fridman, Fridman. He's a Drexel AI engineer, physicist, whose father's a famous physicist.
Wow.
And then he was at MIT, and then I think he left MIT, and because he does jujitsu, which I think that's how he got in with Joe Rogan, he got invited to Joe Rogan's show. So the father, Joe, kind of helped set him up, and he you know, he's got a pretty darn good podcast going. But today, I saw a new video, must be a day old or two, and he was touring the new Texas Tesla plant.
That moved from California.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think he's got a plant in China too, doesn't he?
Wow, I don't
Right?
know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Was the plant impressive?
of course.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that Elon Musk does that isn't impressive, right? Even boring.
Yeah,
Right?
he's
Did you
pretty
see his
amazing.
boring videos?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So I think he was in maybe L.A. And I think that, you know, legally they had to go to, you know, the authorities, the town council, the engineers, the planning board, all that crap. And he says, or I want a permit to dig a hole in the ground. And he did. And it was showing them that his company boring isn't not that kind of boring. It's they bore tunnels. They bore tunnels with these big boring machines. I guess they're akin to those big mining machines that have all of those bits and they spin and they dig a hole. Or kind of like how they bored a hole from France to the UK and it's called the Channel, right?
Wow.
Yeah, right. So, but anyway, he does that, and that company, you know, these people, right? They don't just start a company and spend billions of dollars without insider information. Do you think they do? I don't think they do. If you had $100 billion, how much does Elon Musk? What's he worth? 160 billion? No, 160 billion is Amazon and
Bezos.
the guy with the spaceship that looks like a penis, Bezos,
Yeah. Jeff
Right.
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos.
Bezos. I don't know how much money he has, Elon Musk, but I
Well,
know
apparently he's the single wealthiest guy in the world.
Wow.
Apparently, and if that's true, okay, let's say he had $500 billion. I don't think it's that much, but let's say he did. Why would you start a company that bores holes underground if you didn't know something that the rest of us idiots didn't know? So what do they got up their sleeves? I don't know.
Now, you could say, I mean, he was born with Aspergers, I believe, which is a form.
Did he say that?
I believe I read that somewhere. Yeah, absolutely.
So he's basically kind of like a genius.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we all knew that anyway, but I didn't know he had Asperger's.
I'm pretty sure. Put it down in the comments. Write it down, people, in the comments, if that's true or not. I know that's what he was. Some people look at that as a disability, but I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. He seems to overcome everything and do things when other people look at his rocket ships.
Would you
John.
see that haircut he had about a
No.
month ago?
What did it look like?
It kind of looked like the reversed St. Francis of Assisi cut.
Oh, really?
St. Francis, you know, those guys used to cut the top of their hair off and leave like a
ring.
ring of hair, and he did just the opposite. He put like the cereal bowl on his head and
Cut everything
shaved everything and just left, you know, a puff.
Well, how'd it look? Different?
Strange.
Okay.
Very
all
strange.
right.
But then again, if you had $200 billion, you would automatically say, I'd better look strange, otherwise they won't believe I've had that much money.
Maybe one of his 8 kids. I think he's got 8 kids. Maybe
I
one of
think
his
I
8
heard him
kids.
say that.
Yeah. Cut his hair as a goof or something. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Same mother or no?
I don't know.
Because if it is, then she qualifies for that very rare club, the Octomom Club.
Octomom.
Remember
yes.
the Octomom?
Yeah, you're going way back.
Right, yeah, right.
Going way back with that one. Wow. How about Elon Musk and his rockets that land?
SpaceX?
Yeah,
Yeah,
land.
that's
And
amazing.
They don't throw any parts away. They don't have to disengage part of the rocket to land and waste it.
Right.
We used to only see that in like the old sci-fi movies.
Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon, where it would just come down like this. You're like, wow. And he does it in real life.
He does it in real. You know, I saw
Cheaper than NASA or any other government
Well,
can do it.
NASA's a hoax. Yeah, it is. Anyway, sorry.
That's all right.
This is my third coffee, so you're going to get a few explosive reactions from me today. Hey, Bones, wake up.
We didn't address that Bones is here.
Yeah.
Second podcast in a row where he's
Right.
at the table.
But he's not allowed to say anything yet. It's a legal contractual thing between us, him, HR again. HR's involved again. They're always involved. And once we get that cleared up, you know what? You're going to hear from Bones. And then once you start hearing from him, you know what's going to happen.
Please forget.
Right.
I think if he says one or two lines, he might get a SAG card.
Well, that
Screen Actors Guild card. So that's why we're not allowed. We're not allowed to give him any speaking lines yet.
Oh, you're right.
We can't
That's
have
why
him in
he's
the union.
Well, but you know, you'll get there. My God, you don't even have your eyebrows yet, and you want a SAG card.
Yeah, you got to be careful, John, because you know he already has a bone to pick with you.
Right,
So
that's true.
Yeah, that's great.
Bones.
But he's coming around. So Elon Musk and you mentioned NASA, space. We landed on the moon.
Did we?
Well, did we? According back in what year was that? 69.
69. Well, but they've landed on the moon several times.
Yes, but the head of NASA back then supposedly was a Nazi that we got from the Germans after we won in the World War.
Yeah.
They said it was almost like, this is what I heard on a podcast, so I again reference this in the comments, that once Germany was broken down and defeated, it's almost like a football, like a draft.
Yeah.
We had to get him before
Right.
somebody else got him.
Right.
Have you heard anything like that, John?
100%. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and all of these secret operations, they all have these stupid, double secret backup bullshit names like MK Ultra. MK is a la German for mind control. Ultra, Operation Paperclip, Operation High Jump, Operation Blue Book. Is it Blue Book? No, that's the price of old cars.
Yeah.
Operation, I don't know. They're all interesting operations. They're all real. No, they're not conspiracy theories. Apparently, all of the shit that we're dealing with now is being brought to you by the Nazi Party from World War II. They did not lose the war. The German military lost the war. The Japanese military lost the war. But the Schnazis didn't lose the war. No, they're still around. And now it's so confusing because we have, think about this, you got this unbelievable, horrid war, World War II, and you've got the capitalists from the United States and Great Britain and most of Europe. Then you've got the Soviets, right, who were communist via the Bolsheviks. And you got the Germans and the Axis. We were the Allies and the Axis were Nazis. So, okay, today we've got Nazi-esque factions trying to recrudesce and take over the world like Pinky and the Brain, and we've got a bunch of self-professed communists creeping into the educational system and creeping everywhere into the political arena. So I call them communazis. I should really patent that. I've been saying it on Facebook and Facebook for a long time. Communazis. Right.
Wow. So World War II, I mean, think of the devastation, how many people passed in that war. From there...
Well, yeah, so World War II, the statistics, if I have them right, leave a comment, please. Americans, 500,000 Americans dead, World War II. That doesn't count the injured. Russians, I heard anywhere from 60 to 80 million Russians dead, and apparently Joseph Stalin was responsible for most of those deaths. I don't know how many Germans died, a lot, and I think a whole boatload of Chinese died. in that era. So upwards of 200 million people died, brought to you by World War II.
John,
That's a lot of people.
just think what it takes to be a soldier. I mean, you may not believe what your country is fighting for, fighting against, but yet you get drafted, and back then there was a draft, and you're shipped out, and you're in another country, and you know, you're just a number. Like, we throw these numbers out there, like so many dead, so many injured. I mean, to be a soldier, a veteran, is truly something special, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So how come we have so many veterans that are homeless today, in the VA or the hospital care? Have you ever, when you were in the medical field, did you ever come across a veteran or a VA situation?
Well, not that many, and the reason is because I trained at a very big, busy level 1 trauma center for general surgery, and that was down in Camden, New Jersey, and there was not a VA associated with our program at that time. If there is now, I'm not aware. It's been decades and decades. And of course, I did my pediatric surgery fellowship in Montreal, so you know that was preemies, babies, and children. I heard from lots of friends who came to our program from other programs and whatnot. And of course, if you were associated with a VA hospital, it was a different kettle of fish. And as far as I'm concerned, the government takes liberties with the people that were soldiers that they shouldn't take. And I think that eventually something's gonna have to be done about that. Yeah.
Just think of the sacrifice. There's that saying, all sacrifice some sacrificed all. I mean, and to be treated like that, I feel that they don't get enough respect. I know in a VA my uncle was in, going back a few years, he was there for a week before anybody even knew he was there. Like, treated him, anything.
I didn't even get a sip of the coffee on that one. If I did, you'd be wearing it.
He was there a week, and he was there. He suffered from emphysema, a lung condition, and people in his ward.
Did I know him?
No.
Not okay.
We didn't see him much, and people in his ward were smoking with oxygen tanks. I mean, it just seemed like back then the VA,
of the older VAs,
the older VA, it was a free for all.
Right.
I know. I always tell people, if you know a veteran, if you want to help a veteran, I mean, talk to a veteran. I mean, they're always willing to tell you stories, at least how you doing, what's going on, and it makes their day, because these people are in these veteran homes, and you know, they're like forgotten.
Right. But you know, boy, I have a lot to say about how the country procures its draftees or enlisted men and women. You know, and anything that I say about the military, you'd better not misconstrue it, because I am a military fan. I was never military. I only have 2 regrets in my life. 2, just 2. You know, lots of people have a bucket list with lots of things they want to do. I really don't. But when it comes to regrets, lots of people have lots of regrets. 2 regrets. I jumped in and out of guitar lessons all my life. Take lessons for 2 years, maybe 3 years, get pretty good. And then life would just come sweeping in like a big wave, and you know, on the beach, and then I got washed away, and then there went the lessons. And so as a consequence, after 52 or 54 years of that bullshit, I'm still just a home hack. So regret number 1 is that I just didn't stay with it like John Bon Jovi says he did. Paid off for him. And the other was, I was kind of a military freako as a kid. Oh, I was just all military, you know, all the time, everywhere, saw every movie, had big books on the military in World War I, World War II, this war, that war, the Korean War. And it's just, I guess it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. Now, I missed the draft by a couple of months, but my older brother Tommy, who was 4 years older than me, my God, during the Vietnam War, we would sit and watch the body count on the news, and then they would cut to, video reels of the killing fields. We show bodies piled up, people moving, dead soldiers, and then they would cut right to the lottery, and that's what they called the draft, the lottery. Yeah, the lottery. My brother shit his pants every fucking night that was on. I got to get myself a beep button. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, those were those. People say, oh, 1960s, the good old days. Not so much. Not so much. No, it was tough. It really was tough. So,
I mean, I think those wars after World War II, and we were pretty much, controlled the world. I mean, we went to the Korean War. I think more soldiers died in the Korean War than Vietnam War.
I think so. I don't have the number. Yeah.
But after that, people started getting like, why are we fighting all these wars? Like, what are we really fighting for? I mean, people, like you said, the killing fields, and you're not talking men, you're talking boys. 18, 19, 20, thrown into a situation that they had to fight to survive.
Yeah.
And I think that's what started to turn a lot of people, maybe anti-U.S., anti-big government, people that lived here. Don't forget, Bill Clinton was visiting Russia during all those wars as a young man. And Russia, that's when Russia was the big...
Well, so was Bernie Sanders, went on his honeymoon.
Oh, yeah, Bernie Sanders.
It was a nice place. We really enjoyed it.
That's how it talks. But that's when Russia was the big bad bear. I mean, heavy-duty communist back then.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think that turned everybody around where, people started questioning government and questioning our leaders. Like, why? And I don't think they really had a great answer to give to the people.
Well, I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole now. Okay. And please, nobody who's watching that's military or ex-military should be offended. Everything I think, do, and say regarding the military is because I'm on your side. There are elite scumbags in this world that play us like a fiddle. It's like a game of Stratego. Think about who fills the ranks of the military. Who are the infantry? Who are the enlisted men and women? Who are they? Are they the sons and daughters of business tycoons? No. Are they the sons and daughters of top politicians? No. Are they the sons and daughters of kings and queens and princes? For optics, that's true. Oh yes, the monarchy across the pond, they'll send their youngins into the military. They'll get their dress and they'll be sent here and they'll be sent there with a gauntlet and a protective bubble around them so they can come out and wear all of their little, medals and award ribbons and whatnot. Sure. That way, when there's a wedding, out comes the parade dress, the sword, all of the ribbons, and everybody else can kind of, eat shit because they're the monarchy, they're the royalty. It's kind of a joke, right? It's like that scene from Monty Python where King Arthur, passes by in the bogs, and then the people are digging and mining peat. He says, "Well, who's that?" "It's the king." "Well, I didn't vote for him." So, right? Yeah. Well, guess what? We didn't vote for the king or the queen, and apparently they still own the landmass that is North America. Guess what? All that's changing. Haven't we had enough of that shit? So, back to the rabbit hole about Why would anybody just on spec go down to the recruiter's office and join up? Why? Because they saw an old Humphrey Bogart movie?
Love of country.
Well, love of country, or, geez, I didn't do very well in school. I don't have the money or the wherewithal to go to college. I don't want to be going to such and such tech to be whatever. So one of the viable options is to go and you get a salary and you get 3 square meals, and what do the ads say? They'll, the few, the proud, the Marines, whoever, the Army, they'll train you, they'll send you here, and they show, some guy on a beach, with palm trees, and oh, isn't that wonderful? Now, for a lot of people, they go and they come back unscathed, and there's the GI Bill and whatnot, and that's helped so many people. But I'm not talking about that, okay? God bless all of that help. I'm talking about when it's all over and done with, especially if you're infirmed, if you've got kind of, chronic PTSD, if you've got a neurologic injury from an explosion, from a shell, a mortar shell, you're missing a couple of limbs, and you just can't seem to fit into society. What's waiting for you? The VA system? The VA system? Really? The VA system. Come on, guys. We need to do better than that, okay? We need to do better than that. And is this going to turn into a political discussion? Well, I guess it has to by convention. But if the big guy expects all Americans to be behind sending 16, how much did we leave in Afghanistan? $83 billion.
83 to
83 billion, $90 billion worth of brand new military equipment. We leave it in Afghanistan. Are you out of your effing mind?
John, could Ukraine have used that equipment?
Well, okay, right? I guess they'd have to go and pick it up. But the point is, 89, 83, 90, $100 billion of your taxpayer dollar military equipment, we're going to just leave it there. Oh, you guys are just rocket science. I'm getting just so upset by this. You're rocket scientist. Ed, isn't it a little bit weird? Isn't it a little bit strange that the mainstream media can lie to your ass nonstop for 40 years and really turn up the sauce when there's a virus flying around the world? You're getting lied to every goddamn day. All of a sudden, apparently there's a war, and Russia invades the Ukraine. Quite frankly, I got a lot of friends that I know, personal friends, work friends that are Russians and Ukrainians. And of course, before we get that far in the relationship, I don't know if they're Russian or Ukrainian, because they got relatives on both sides of the boundaries, if there are boundaries. So we're going to send $16 billion to the Ukraine for a war so that more people can be killed. And yet, when I go to the supermarket, I'm asked by the cashier, who's mandated by the manager, who's mandated by the owners of the supermarket chain, would you like to donate to help the Ukrainian military? No! Why would I? I'm done being co-opted. Everywhere you look, it's Ukraine, 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 Ukraine. Well, what if there was an agenda going on that you weren't told? That's going on. What if the Ukraine needed to be swept out? What if their septic tanks needed to be drained? And what if the Russians are doing that? Now, do I believe that the Russians purposely launched a missile at a crowded train station with, the mainstream media says, thousands of civilians fleeing the Russian onslaught? Wait a minute. Yesterday, you showed a formation of Russian troop carriers and tanks being blown to smithereens. Yay, Ukraine. But today, you're saying the vicious Russians are firing missiles at civilians. Really? But it couldn't possibly be that there are rogue factions in the Ukraine, like the Nazis that killed 14,000 Russian-speaking, we'll call them inhabitants. Back in 2014, 12 to 14,000 people were killed. Where was the outcry by the mainstream media? You didn't hear it. You're saying, what is this guy talking about? I never heard about that. That's because you didn't hear it, because they didn't want you to know about it. So the Russians purposely sent a missile into a crowded train station to slaughter innocent civilians, men, women, and children trying to escape the melee. I don't believe that for a second.
You're saying that those situations are happening from within?
Precisely.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
John, when it comes to veterans and fighting and wars and the carnage and the injuries that happen, that's why in the United States we have that Tunnels to Towers, that foundation. Are you aware of that?
No.
Tunnels to Towers.
Never heard of it, as a matter of fact.
It was started by a young man on 9/11, a fireman in New York City, ran from Jersey through the Lincoln Tunnel to the towers and was killed.
Ran
With fire equipment, because he was off that day. And he saw the call and he went in there. And I can't believe I can't remember his name. It's all over the place. His brother has picked up the mantle, and he started Tunnels to Towers for people that were injured during 9/11 or
Right.
their family members needed a house and home. He's now extended that to veterans. And all it costs is $11 a month for people to join.
Wow.
But if you get 1 million people, I mean,
Yeah, of
you
course.
have an income. And I've seen a lot of commercials on TV, the Tunnels to Towers, they show these veterans. I mean, God bless these young men and women.
Right.
Missing arms, legs, burns all over. And yet the houses they provide, brand new houses, no mortgage, no anything for them and their families. So, of course, all handicap accessibility and stuff like that. So it's really pretty amazing. Well, but where's the government? It takes civilians to start this.
Well, but you just took the words out of my mouth, and I was going to say, please tell me that none of these filthy, blood-sucking politicians are involved. Please tell me that the Clintons aren't involved. Please tell me that the Bushes aren't involved, because if they are, your money isn't going to where you think it's going.
No, it's amazing. It seems like nowadays the government is so caught up in surviving itself that it's forgetting about the people.
It's been going on for a while.
I know every year in August from the Jersey side, being the Jersey Alchemist, the Jersey side, there's a Hudson River swim of retired Navy SEALs. I've been there twice. It's an amazing event with amazing men, all retired. But they say once you're a Navy SEAL, you don't retire. You're a Navy SEAL for life. And what they do is to bring recognition for all soldiers, wounded veterans, homeless veterans. They'll do like 100 push-ups on this side as a group, jump into the river. They jog like a mile on the Jersey side, jump into the river, swim to a barge, do like 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups on a barge, jump back in the water, swim to the Statue of Liberty, do the same thing there, and then swim to shore, and then jog to the 9/11 museum.
Well, those are some gifted individuals for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're not letting John Q. Public or just average Joes. You have to try out for that swim.
Right.
But
I'm sure.
there's no civilians. I think they opened it up to first responders last year. But it's people not involved with government. And what they're doing is they're taking the ball and they're running with it. They're trying to help people, trying to bring awareness to a situation that it seems like, the government's not looking at.
Right.
Because it has no benefit to them.
Right. And talk about forgotten souls. The people that are in the VA system. I'll be nice. It's not a very good healthcare system.
No,
I'm being really, really generous with that to say it's not very nice. I was taken on a tour with an interview group up in Boston through a VA hospital. And as we were getting toured through this facility, I couldn't believe my eyes. We saw rats on the inside of the place.
Oh.
We saw holes in the walls of the place. Now, the old hospitals are not sheetrock walls. It's old, lath and plaster and wire mesh. The old-fashioned walls. Who sledgehammered a hole into the wall, and why is it still there? And clearly it had been there for a long, long time. It was one of the most amazing shitholes I'd ever seen. And then the chief resident went on to tell us, because we were interviewing for surgery training spots, he says, this is a great place to train. He says, because there's no oversight and we can do whatever we want.
Oh my God.
What? I guess I'll call them the third dimensionalist in the group. We're like, oh, how wonderful, oh, great, oh. And I'm like, that's disgusting. What do you mean no oversight? Do you know what the hell you're doing? That's why you heard all of those horror stories. It just makes me sick. There's no equity, there's no justice, no justice at all. No, but guess what? It's coming. It's coming.
I hope so. And it just goes back to, like you said, the elites, their sons and daughters aren't going over there. It's just a middle class, average citizen, people from every other walk of life. Their children are the ones that go into service,
Right.
And they're
Right.
just a number. There's a song from the 60s, I believe, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Fortunate Son. And that song is all about that. I'm not a senator's son,
Right.
just
Yeah.
a guy in a war.
Right.
Just a kid in a war.
Yeah.
Trying to push through. And we have to make sure that our veterans are taken care of. I mean, Tunnels to Towers is great. You can volunteer at the VA. There's VAs. When I was with a prior podcast, I used to go and I would I'd go into a VA just to talk to a couple veterans here and
Right.
there. Just somebody to talk to, because they seem, even their own family sometimes have forgotten them, and that's not acceptable from anywhere.
No, it's not acceptable.
So let's hope that this war that's going on now, that no Americans, even though we have troops stationed, I believe, in Poland, over 100,000, let's hope that they don't have to go to war.
Right. So, you know who, just ring a bell? The name Medley Butler. Does that ring a bell?
Medley Butler?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
I don't know.
you got me there.
I got
Me. Oh, it's
No.
Medley. Oh, yeah. Isn't he your uncle? No. All right. Well, Medley Butler was apparently, and I say that just because he was way, way, way before our time. Although I don't really know how old you are, Bones. Don't say anything.
We're
But
gonna find out.
I don't know. Maybe you knew Smedley Butler. Smedley Butler was
might be
apparently
Smedley
he
Butler.
might be Smedley Butler. Well, if you are, then we better start treating you like royalty. We'll have to get him a Smedley Butler constable. World War One,
Absolutely.
yeah, some kind of military Allegheny type
Yeah.
garb. But that was World War II, right?
Okay.
Remember Bridger on the River Kwai?
Oh,
What a movie,
whistling.
right?
They were whistling.
Smedley Butler was apparently the most decorated U.S. military man to date, circa World War I. He was a general, and he was so successful and so well thought of that the top hat, cane carrying robber barons of the day were grooming him to be the president. Except, here's a guy who spent a lifetime in the military, winning all sorts of awards. And he literally turned down the opportunity to be an American president, and instead wrote a treatise called War is a Racket. A racket. He didn't mean tennis racket. He meant it was a racket, like the mob, like criminals, like thieves. And he went on to say, and it's all over the internet, so just look up Medley Butler, War is a Racket. And he went on to say that basically the war is all about Money. It's all about money. And you know, it's funny. Before I saw for the first time the hit Broadway play Annie, I think the first time I saw it, I was, I don't know, 18, 19, something like that. I knew of the character Daddy Warbucks. Stupid me, as a 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, I didn't put two and two together. I didn't understand that Daddy Warbucks was phenomenally wealthy because of the bucks he made from the war.
Oh.
And he apparently was a very wealthy Republican, and he's the guy that ended up adopting Annie, except he was personal friends with FDR, who was the Democratic president. Get it? And he would make phone calls to his friend. Hey, we're slipping on, such and such orders, the tanks, the weapons, the ammo, the airplanes. Come on, you're killing me here. We gotta pump out that equipment. Your orders are down. I expect them to be up. Next month will be a better curve. And the president would laugh and say, oh yeah, all right, okay, you're on. I'll get right on it. Medley Butler, war is a racket, and we got brave men and women enlisting or getting drafted or being manipulated by some horrible event that gets everybody to go rushing down to say, you know what, we're going to go kill those goddamn bastards that shot up Pearl Harbor. Or we're going to go kill those goddamn bastards that took the Twin Towers down. And it's all one big, unholy, disgusting, evil, Luciferian, filthy manipulation. And so we end up in wars that never end. Thank you, dickhead Cheney. Thank you, Donald Rumsfeld. And thank you to the Bush family.
I was just going to bring up...
and Hillary Clinton. She voted for the war. Weapons of mass destruction.
Well, I was just going to bring up Dick Cheney. He had a big part. That's his rap, is that he had a big part in some...
Of course he did.
...military providing some service to...
Well, I think the company was Halliburton.
Halliburton,
right?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. He had been, I think, the vice president of Halliburton. There's that revolving door thing where the president, the CEO, the VP, or somebody from some big multi-billion-dollar company resigns. Oh, I want to spend more time with my lovely wife and kids, and I haven't seen my dog in 3 weeks. So they resign, and they come up with some bullshit story. And then all of a sudden, in they come through the back door, the revolving back door, and now they're a cabinet member with all of this insider know-how and ability. And what does it do? It keeps turning the crank. And Medley Butler was right. War is a racket. It's your tax dollars, but they're ripping us off so severely that we are so brain screwed, people. We're so brain screwed that we're used to it. We don't understand just how bad we're getting. We don't understand. So when we hear, from General Milley to Donald Trump, well, it's cheaper to leave $89 billion worth of equipment there, sir. Donald Trump says, you're a real rocket scientist. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, well, guess what? All of that stuff is there, and it's your tax dollars. How far would almost $90 billion go for housing the homeless, for feeding and clothing the poor, for really giving the VA system a boost and revamping it and bringing it up to speed with the fancy schmancy hospitals on the Upper East Side? Come on, guys, right? Come on.
Talking about Dick Cheney and George Bush, I was not a big George Bush fan.
Which Bush? Sonny Boy Bush?
Sonny Boy Bush. I was not a big fan of his, or his father, to tell you the truth. But I think, the weapons of mass destruction, not only that, he was making jokes out of it. I mean, people
Yes,
died.
he was. Oh, I don't see any weapons here.
I mean,
Nothing there.
yeah.
Right, looking under the table. Nothing here.
I mean, you
How
want
many people died? Millions.
Oh.
Millions of people
Yeah.
died. You piece of shit.
the only thing he
W. The guy that owned the Astros. Didn't he own the Astros?
did, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, right.
Or the Rangers, or Texas Rangers.
Texas Rangers?
Yeah, one of them. I do believe that he hid behind the 9/11. I mean, he did stand tall. There's a couple moments where he threw out the first pitch at the I think Yankee game after 9/11. He stood on a pile of rubble and said they will all hear us.
They're going to hear from us here. The people who did this. He
Yeah.
should have just killed himself right then and there, because the whole story would have ended, because he and his regime were deeply embedded in how 9/11 came down. And if you still don't understand that it was an inside job, you're an idiot. You're co-opted by CNN. Co-opted. Get over it. There was no plane that flew into the goddamn Pentagon. No plane. Okay? It was a missile, something like that. But I'm going to ask you something. Oh, by the way, I have kind of a funny story. I'm working surgeon, and a dear friend of mine who worked in the same department. On Friday afternoons, if we had time, we would go up and have coffee and bullshit for about an hour in his office, and then we would kind of break, and hopefully that we could get out for the weekend, unless we were on call, and I was always on call. So one day, back around 2006, which is when he got to the hospital, somehow or another, the conversation went around and around and around, and it turned to 9/11. And I casually, I sensed that this guy, as smart as he is, was thinking it was Muhammad Atta. And he said something about, they found that son of a bitch's driver's license in the rubble. I realized what he was saying. He thinks that story is true. That bullshit story. So I looked at him, I said, you really think that this whole bullshit story about the 19 jihadists, you think that that's a true story? I said, holy shit. I said, you know what? Okay, fine. 10 minutes of a reality check. And I went right down the line. Shanksville, the two buildings, World Trade Center 7, that gets reported that it collapsed in the UK before it collapsed. How does a 42-story building collapse because there was an office fire? There's only one way that happens, because Larry Schmelverstein said, pull it. And pull it is the commercial trade lingo for, that means it was already wired. Yeah. So the Twin Towers come down. World Trade Center 7 comes down. The ground zero at the Pentagon for where the explosion took place was the very office that was responsible for the missing 2.3 trillion.
With a T.
Trillion?
With a T.
I believe it was, right? Am I right on that? Yeah, it was trillion. 2.3 trillion? Yeah, because 2.3 billion would have been like, right. $2.3 trillion. And who got up on national television on September 10th, the day before, to give a public address? It was Donald Rumsfeld. He said, in the Pentagon, there's $2.3 trillion missing. Kind of like, who ate the cookies in the cookie jar? Huh, really? And the very office that held all of the information that could give us a clue, poof, gone. People dead. And by the way, there's lots of videos on the internet to show you that the 757 that they said hit the Pentagon, from wingtip to wingtip, was like 141 feet long. But after the explosion, the hole in the side of the Pentagon was 17 feet wide. And then after the facade that was remaining collapsed from the heat and the fire and all that stuff, I think it then turned into 49 feet. How does How does a jet leave its wing imprints in the sides of the World Trade Center, but not a scratch on the facade of the Pentagon beyond 17 feet? You're all being lied to. Doo-dah, doo-dah. You're all being lied to. Wake up. Oh, Shanksville. By the way, I don't want to hear about the people on the plane. God bless them. God only knows where they really ended up. God only knows. All I know is, by Google Earth images, the crease in the ground in Shanksville was there before 9/11. And on 9/11, there was some smoke and some papers, but no evidence of a passenger jetliner. And you know what the 9/11 commission said? The jet hit the ground with such force and such impact that it completely disintegrated and there's nothing left. You actually believe that bullshit? Right? So what about that flight that was shot down over the Ukraine? I can't remember what year it was. Was it like 2011 or 12, right? There was some passenger airliner shot down over the Ukraine. The debris trail was 3 miles long. It was Elmo book bags and sneakers and body parts and engine turbines and housing and wheel housings and nose cones and seats. You know, the cushion seats, the kind that you use if you're in the water, right? All over the place, strewn about for 3 miles. But in Shanksville, a passenger airliner, let's roll, hit the ground so hard that there was nothing left. No nose cone. No tail section. No big, huge steel wheel mechanisms. No seat cushions. No Elmo book bags. No body parts. No shit. That's because there was never a jet that landed in the field in Shanksville. No. Sorry. Sorry to give you the rude awakening. Sorry everyone, sorry. Let's not bicker and argue over who killed who. No.
Okay. Talk about, with war and the average Joe, the average person is left to deal with the remnants of the war, the dead, the crippled, the economy. I do have to give credit in New York City, though, John, to Rudy Giuliani, because he was put in the middle of something. It was really a pile of destruction, no matter where it came from. And there's a guy, he had to do something. He had to keep his city safe, restore some semblance of order. That's a
wasn't his command center somewhere on the lower levels, or like the basement of one of the towers?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. And then there's that whole issue over all of the gold that was missing from these. They had apparently somewhere at lower levels of the World Trade Center, there were these large vaults filled with tons of gold, tons and tons and tons of gold. And apparently the gold went missing shortly before 9/11, and then the towers came down, and voila, there's no gold. There's no gold, because no matter how hot the fire burns, the gold is still going to be there. It may be running and melting, but no trace at all.
What about the first shot at the World Trade Center when Bill Clinton was
in 93?
93.
Yeah, well...
a little sophomoric. Loaded up a van, put it in the parking garage.
Yep.
I don't believe was anybody injured in that?
Yeah, I think somebody had a heart attack and maybe passed, because of, the stress and whatnot, but...
Wow.
I don't know, Phil.
Horrible from any way you look at it.
So this is one of those moments when the viewer might say, "Geez, these guys, I never tuned into the Jersey Alchemist before. The guy at the end of the table's edgy. The other guy's not. The guy with the blue jacket, is, you know, a little bit strange, you know. But you know, it's kind of a downer. You know, they're telling us all of this stuff about people that we trust, that we vote for, that we rally for, that we campaign for, that we donate to. Could this guy be on the level? I don't think so. Okay, well, guess what? It's time for the turnaround, okay? No, we're not retracting anything that we talked about, no. The only way humanity is gonna break free from these son of a bitches that kill without thinking about it for their own benefit, right? You're on this earth plane for service to self at all costs. Well, you're on this earth plane for service to others. And there's an very interesting, fascinating work out there called The Law of One. And it's kind of a really big compendium on the why and wherefore of humanity. But the Law of One states, you're here on service to others or service to self. And it's kind of like the black hats and the white hats. Yeah, it's kind of like the believers in a creator. And how could you really truly be a believer in the creator? How could you really truly be reverent to God, regardless of what you call God? It doesn't matter what your religion is, or it doesn't matter if you're an atheist, okay? If you really believe, is it possible that you take part of an operation that hurts and maims and kills thousands and thousands, millions of people for your own personal benefit? The president or vice president of Halliburton becomes the vice president of the United States. And Halliburton gets these multi-billion-dollar contracts, even to do the bed sheets and the food service for over 500,000 American military people in Iraq during Desert Storm. Doesn't that seem like a conflict of interest, right? Now, if you're a doctor and you want to open up a radiology center outside of a hospital, God forbid you start referring to that center, you'll get strung up, right? Yeah, it's an antitrust, conflict of interest, all of these rules and regs put in place to keep everybody down, you know, whack-a-mole. Don't stick your head up, we'll cut your head off. But if you're one of these ruling scumbags, you can't possibly believe in God. No, absolutely not. So when George Bush stood on the deck of that aircraft, I can't remember which ship it was, and he says, you're either for us or against us. I think that's when he said that. And then he said, mission accomplished. He wasn't on the ship when he said, you're either for us or against us, but that's a biblical quote. You know who these people are, and remember who you are. And you're gonna hear us use that terminology over and over again. Why? Because it's the truth laid bare. You, if you're watching this, you're a child of the Creator, and therefore you are a creator. Don't let these ugly, satanic, scumbag rulers, don't let them destroy who you are. Don't give them the chance to have them steal your soul. Don't give them the chance to steal your lives or the lives of your children or your children's children. So, how does humanity get past this? By creating a better world with your hearts and your consciousness, through your prayers, through your meditation, literally. And it sounds ridiculous. Like, how are we going to beat a mechanized military with prayer and meditation? It's happened all through humanity's history. There isn't a time greater than right now where we're called upon to change the consciousness of the planet, to change the energy of humanity. If you have reverence for the Creator, pray and meditate, and you will change the polarity of this planet from dark to light. And that's what an alchemist does. Changes lead, which is heavy and poisonous and worthless, to gold. Change dark to light. Change fear to love. Right, Bones?
Wow. What a great way to end the podcast, John.
Well, we got to do that. Otherwise, it's just a big lump of shit on the table. And people say, "Wait, I don't want to, I don't want to be part of this." No. You have to bring it around, and that's what this podcast is all about. It's a little chit chat, a little fun, a little comedic relief. Then it's going to be an expose. We're going to expose the ugliness, and we're going to go as far as we can go. Right up to the point where we get canceled, then we'll come back. And after we expose everything and that lump of shit is on the table, then we are going to tell you how to overcome it. And we will. We will. God is not going to forsake us, nor will God leave us. It's in our hands now, kiddies.
Great job. People, if you like what we're doing, find the like button, press like and subscribe to the New Jersey Alchemist. Thank you, John.
God bless, guys. See you again soon.
Jersey Alchemist. I said the New Jersey Alchemist?
It's all right.